going
Tell
live.
me when to play. That's all I need to know. Hit play. Hit play.
Hit it.
Good evening and welcome to the After Hours show. I'll be your cook this evening. My name is Joe in Norway. Happy New Year. I'm joined by Ann Lee, a retired college professor and a community member at the Daily Coast. They're a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Happy New Year, Ann.
Happy New Year to you too.
And to all our listeners, Happy New Year. Oh, yeah, my beat. As my ability to acclimate here is starting to wear on me. I went swimming in the new year in -4 degrees.
You do that a lot.
Every week now with the locals. And we'll be doing it tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock if anybody wants to join me. It'll be hovering around -12. I'm not sure. It should be warmer in the water. Better be warmer in the water. Otherwise, we're going to get insta hypothermia. Yeah. But I went skiing, injured myself, hit my tailbone, hit my back. Didn't hit my head, but it felt like I did. So a little worse for wear. And I can't get enough of this horrible temperatures out here. So I figure, why don't we stir fry outside?
There we go.
So I thought there will, just to reassure everybody, there will be no bloodletting this evening, no severing of limbs or tendons or no blood.
That was pretty serious last week.
But I promise we're back to 100% vegetarianism. We've got a gluten-free evening, but I will. Some people will get offended here. I know Anna just loves shiitake, so I had to at least have one mushroom there, which I've soaked in a little bit of liquid, which will turn into a sauce. Got some peanuts, which should have been, I thought we had cashews. So they were going to fill in for miniature shrimp. But we've got peanuts, so we'll make do with what we've got, which isn't much because we haven't been able to get to the trading post. I've got some Napa cabbage here, so the remnants of that. We have a nice little green pepper from Turkey, which is much bitter than a regular larger green pepper. So it's a different variety than the traditional green peppers you see. These are wonderful for making stuffed. They're perfect serving size. Got some carrot, some chili, our alliums. We've got spring onion and garlic. I have some Chinese not pickled, fermented black beans. So I've got a This is going to be a kind of a bastard mix of fusion, atrocity of variations from different cuisines. We've got Chinese black beans. I have some Indonesian talco, light soybean paste, and a little bit
Yum.
of Korean black bean paste. Maybe we'll have a touch of Indonesian kick up manis, the sweetened soy sauce at the end. And yeah, so I'll just oh, the other thing I was going to do is completely violate the yin yang principle in terms of splicing up. We want to, so if we have the yin and the yang, so carrot, for example, this is a hard root vegetable, which is yang, but within the vegetable itself, it has a yin and a yang, which would begin the yin up at the top, which would be lighter, and then down at the bottom would be heavier, which I believe that's correct. I might have it backwards, I think, because it's harder up here, but the new ones. But so the idea with all of these is that you either cut at a diagonal or you cut at a vertical if you're making longer pieces, as opposed to cutting this way or that way. But since I've got my cabbage in a state like this, we're going to be cutting along the horizontal and maybe the diagonal on the chili, for example, and maybe we'll make matchsticks out of this. And I'm not sure what we'll do with that. So we're going to have a mishmatch of competing aesthetics in the dish, but hopefully it'll be tasty. And one thing to note about these noodles, these are like rice spaghetti, and they do require a little bit of cooking. I've pre-cooked some. Um, you want to soak it for about 10 to 12 minutes in hot water, and then cook it for another 10 to 12 minutes, and it'll still be al dente. So I'm just gonna put a little hot water in here before we fry it, and then drain it, and it should be good to go. But I shall commence to
Okie doke.
dicing and slicing. I think
Prep
it's
work
been
before you go
another,
out in the cold.
yeah, got to work up some energy.
All
And a
right.
busy
Well,
week, I guess. A week.
oh, a very busy week. I mean, I think a week ago, the United States decided for some odd reason to attack Nigeria. And it's, as far as I could tell, it's a fake attack. In other words, they dropped a dozen Tomahawk missiles on a relatively terrorist-free part of Nigeria. Now, it does border Niger, I think, but it had no real conflicts. In fact, everyone was sort of baffled why missiles were coming at them.
I
Apparently,
I found that amusing as well. They said that they get on the Muslims and Christians live together, and
well,
very
there
strange.
may have been ISIS there, but really, ISIS is not the real problem in Nigeria because, in fact, Muslims can't be the problem in Nigeria because Nigeria is 50%, almost 50% Christian. So it's
Mm.
just like it makes no sense until you sort of think about, well, Nigeria is the second largest or whatever oil reserve in the world. So it's still about oil. Um, but they shot their missiles to nowhere really, and what we can sort of gather from this, 12 fairly expensive Tomahawk missiles being sent from I think a destroyer into Nigeria is is that it's there to as a sop to certain um, Christian groups who believe very seriously uh, that Christians are being persecuted in a 50% Christian country. Somehow Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria. And I wanted to blame Nicki Minaj because essentially it's
Hmm.
her showing up to the TPUSA event, and Erica, what's her name, Kirk, interviews her, and I'm not a Nicki Minaj fan at all, but she has a thing. She has friends who are Nigerian, etc. So apparently, I think that's what got the White House into this let's launch some missiles at Nigeria stuff. Now, unfortunately, the mainstream media is not pointing this out, that there is actually some causal connection between Nicki Minaj being interviewed on stage at the TPUSA event. Vance was there. Mike Johnson was there. So, anyway, Sokoto, Nigeria, just it's close to where you might think there are terrorists, but the real terrorists are in the other side of the country. I mean, in terms of people who kidnap
Wow.
Christians. Christians have gotten kidnapped, but in fact, they've not been kidnapped because they were Christians. They were kidnapped for other reasons, much like the issues with South African refugees, which are um, the claim is that white people are being oppressed, and they're not. It's rather these are disputes over land. Although in the case of South Africa, white people own 72% of all the land in South Africa, so that doesn't make any sense either. Until you sort of realize, oh, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, blah blah blah, and so that's kind of where we are with this sort of weird parallel universe that the United States operates in, where certain people in the White House are kowtowing to extremists, right-wing extremists of one kind or another. Aside from kowtowing to Putin, we'll get there in a moment. Um, we're up to 115 dead now in terms of uh, so-called drug strikes
Oh,
in the
before you go on to that, uh,
yes.
how many were killed in the attack in Nigeria?
Oh,
Do you know?
just a couple.
And,
We didn't really have a damage report because it was so sporadic. I think some people died, some people did get killed. Whether they were actually terrorists, members of ISIS-S, it's the group is called ISIS Sahel, I think.
sorry, yeah.
But it's not a big group. But they're moderately small relative to whatever Boko Haram, the big
Mm.
terrorist group, which is really a not so nice group of people. Um, but they decided not to attack those guys. They decided to attack a smaller, less significant group. And I don't know, maybe 10 people got killed. It's still unclear. And the only reason why it did happen is because the Nigerian government decided to cooperate and give out the coordinates of wherever these folks were, in terms of intelligence on the ground, so the U.S. destroyer could target these folks. So anyway, your tax dollars at work sending moderately expensive cruise missiles at something.
Where
Um,
were the warships positioned? In the
oh,
south or in the
no, they're off
Mediterranean?
Africa. Oh, no, off
North
Africa.
Africa?
I mean, they're fairly close. I mean, it was just a different warship, I think.
Mm.
Um, but they didn't have much. There's not much in terms of, sort of the Pentagon revealing stuff about it. I think we have one picture of, and whether it really is the actual destroyer or not, you have missiles flying through the air. Um, you have sort of video of folks on the ground, um, buildings being screwed up. They don't see any, there are no dead bodies, with all due respect. Um, it could have been an assassination plot of some kind, but it's just unclear. They didn't just, it's sort of a one-off. And although, of course, Trump threatened that this is just, or Hegseth threatened this was just the beginning, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it is. And pretty expensive, too, when you consider 12 cruise missiles. I mean, these are not cheap missiles.
Mm.
Um, and of course, anyone interested in Ukraine would be sort of annoyed because that's cruise missiles are what, particularly Tomahawks, are what the Ukrainians need in order to continue their struggle against the Russians. Well, we'll get to that in a moment
Oh,
because
just
there
a
was a lot
cooking
of
side.
mischief,
Mm.
mischief there. Go ahead.
Cooking side note tip: I'm making matchsticks, so I cut it into however long you want to make your carrot sticks. Uh, in order for it not to roll, the first thing you do is to cut off just one side, the bottom of it, and then roll it over so that you have a stable uh, carrot to cut into, and then you can
Mm.
cut down without worrying about damaging things. That's all I want to mention.
Oh, no, certainly important. It's not julienne. They're whatever. There must be a French name for
Oh,
the matchsticks.
julienne matchsticks.
Oh God. Well, other stuff. Yeah, so we could talk a lot more about Nigeria, but really there's not much to report considering that people, not a lot of people died. Infrastructure seemed not to have been hit, or they're just nothing seemed to have happened, even though we sent all these missiles at something. It was just more distraction. All of these are Epstein distractions, needless to say. Um, this particular one against Nigeria was meant to distract from the fact that we're up to 115 killed, 35 strikes. I think the most recent ones were in the Eastern Pacific, which is not even contiguous to Venezuela. In fact, it's probably more Colombia if there's going to be any out in terms of drugs. But apparently, in the latest reporting, is that the only things that washed up on shore, aside from dead bodies, is marijuana. So and the Trump administration has actually promised to take marijuana off the Schedule One list of addictive drugs. So it that heroin and cocaine are on in Schedule One, but apparently the promise was to get marijuana off it. So this finding only marijuana and not any other kind of drugs is well, if we had more reporting, they'd be much more embarrassed. But of course, they've restricted the reporting. And on the other hand, Maduro is, trying to respond to this. I mean, he sent his military out and the police out to smash drug production or whatever it is somewhere in the interior in Venezuela. So that's going on. There's reporting about that too. But Maduro is essentially, Maduro did an interesting thing. He was in a vehicle. I think he didn't want to be targeted. But he did a social media thing. It was a little, the cameras in the car. He was talking from his automobile or vehicle and offered, to negotiate with Trump. It's just that Trump, of course, doesn't want to negotiate. He needs Maduro to give it up and go to another country or something. But that degree of conversation hasn't happened yet. Although we've just discovered, or I discovered from certain reporting, is that Maduro actually talked to Trump for 10 minutes in November. So the fact that, this is all supposed to be big, evil drug
Mm.
traffic stuff is a little bit more like BS when you really think about it. And unfortunately, the Navy is doing what it does. It goes out there and kills things. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. It's doing job one. The fact is, though, that the targets are just these little boats. The latest one was a group of 3 boats, which they characterized as a quote unquote convoy. And they blew them all up. But I think there were survivors and they didn't kill the survivors. So it would be really nice if someone would talk to the survivors. They weren't able to talk to the two that they blew up in December, or the remaining survivors that did survive in a couple months ago, and who got ferried off once they were brought on shore to Ecuador, and they weren't even Venezuelans. So uh, there's that. The reality, of
Oh,
course, is that boats in the
just let me butt
Caribbean.
in for a moment.
Go ahead.
About to head out to the
Oh, yes.
sub-zero temperatures, perfect for barbecue and stir frying, outdoor cooking. Um, when you're stir frying, it's very practical to have. What I like to do is have one plate for every dish, if I can get everything on there, and have it partitioned in the manner in which you're going to cook it, and separate your ingredients. I find it very handy. And this way, when you do it like this, it's pretty easy to remember what dishes you have planned out to cook, because it can be quite quick when you're out there to, and you easily forget. So at least you've got a clue as to what's supposed to go on one dish. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness. Don't worry, Anna. I almost forgot the shiitake. Oh Lord.
Mushrooms.
One more minute.
Mushroom.
Bear with me. Back to you, Anne.
Oh, yeah. Mise en place. Yeah, more mise en place. Actually, it's quite a good idea to, organize it that
Mhm.
way. Otherwise, you've got them all over the damn place. But um, this was the week of misfit redactions. And there, I think we've discovered that there are another 1 million. There's another 1 million um, documents, Epstein documents. But the reality is that there was only 5% that has been given to Congress. So that means 95%, or 5 million some odd documents, are still supposed to be produced. And so uh, that's gotten stupid, needless to say. And let's see, what else? I think I muted you, Joe.
I can unmute myself. There we go.
Oh,
No
there we
problem.
go. All right. Um, anyway, so there's that. Uh, Needless to say, dribs and drabs, but there's actually some interesting stuff, some of which might be false, but they are, stuff, Epstein stuff. And we've discovered that something that was revealed a while back, but is now, because it's included in this tranche of stuff, um, that Trump may have been at witness the disposal of a fetus. I mean, that alone should bring down the Trump administration. But
Oh,
obviously, no one wants to believe that. And even though the guy, I think this is the guy who did it, or he knows who did it, is still alive, and they just said they interviewed him as some guy who's a chauffeur of some kind. Anyway, they have the document of the report that the FBI has of something happened, a body was disposed of. Trump was there in some obscure place in Michigan. So all of that is sort of interesting. And
man, are you going on about Epstein? What? Oh, come on. I'm with David Brooks. Can we just focus on something else, totally unrelated to,
and David Brooks is doing that because he's in some of the photos. um, Anyway, yeah, well, speaking of, things on the water. So, I mean, Trump was in some shady stuff in the 1980s and 90s. When he wasn't a politician, his decision to become a politician unfortunately makes him accountable. And he's the kind of guy who likes running around doing whatever the hell he wants, which is what he's doing now. Um, um, a a document that got produced by the White House called the National Security Strategy is described by at least one author. I think that's Ann Applebaum, has described it as a suicide note, not a strategy. because it's essentially capitulating to Putin or to the Russians, is cutting the Europe free, and I mean, it is what Trump. It's not a surprise. Trump promised to be more isolationist. On the other hand, he's becoming more belligerent relative to dropping missiles on Nigeria and killing all these people in their boats. Um, I think what Trump is also doing, though, if assuming that actual cocaine is getting blown up in the Caribbean, is that he's starting to restrict. Well, he's going to drive the price of cocaine up in Europe because that's where, if there are drugs moving through the Caribbean, and drugs do move through the Caribbean, it's unclear who he's blowing up, and it's not Venezuelan. It's all kinds of other stuff is going on, uh, and where the drugs go, it's not at all to the U.S. It has nothing to do with fentanyl, and it's just it's just a bunch of lies. It's just a lot of tax money is going to keep all those ships sitting in the Caribbean. We've got aircraft. We've got the equivalent. I don't know what is it, a regiment, a battalion, a division. Um, got a fair number of troops sitting around and waiting to be launched. I suppose. I think they're probably in Puerto Rico, and then they're going to ferry them to the assault ship, assuming they're going to do an assault. Apparently, Trump does well. Who knows what they want to do? But the reality is, of course, he really would like Maduro to leave. Maduro won't leave, or he hasn't gotten a good enough deal. And some of the deals are actually pretty good in order to encourage him to leave. But obviously, he has other obligations in in Venezuela. And needless to say, stuff is happening. All the and in the domestic front,
Oh, before you get there, I just want to get a little update on
there we go.
the wind chill factor out here. This is jellied corn flour, corn oil. My oils have solidified.
Oh God. Gee, it's cold
And
out
this
there.
and this is what we're cooking in, so I got to melt it down a little bit.
God, it's a big wad of oil. Block of oil there.
I can't get the doors open. I shoveled this 4 times the other day. It just keeps building up.
Look.
We've got, we've got
Oh
tons,
God.
tons of.
Jesus. It's a that's a heck of a lot of
Oh,
snow out there.
let's see. Get a good view for everybody. Hold on. Tell me if that looks all right.
It looks good. Looks fine. Oops. Head in the way. There we go.
There we go. Where's that? Okay. Cool.
All right. There we
Be
go.
right back and we get the food.
Mise en place. Come on. There we go.
This is our falafel oil from the other day. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. It is tiring to listen to Trump yammer on about it's something we've never seen before and all that other malarkey. Anyway, there's a national security strategy document available on the White House website. It's whatever it is, 30 pages or something, and it's a little weird. I mean, it makes all the usual kinds. It's the craziness that has been written for him by people, I assume, like Michael Lanton and Stephen Miller. So it has all kinds of other little strangeness about how it's written. It has a certain view of the world that it's hard to believe that anyone actually thinks that. And I don't think a majority of Americans sort of think that as well. And certainly the polling shows that Americans are not in favor of a lot of the stuff that's going on. Bombing these poor people in the water. Um, it's murder. I mean, it's truly, there's no rationalization for it. And also this past week, apparently a dock got blown up. So it's the first Venezuelan land target that got hit. But apparently
Mhm.
now, after several days, it's not even a Trump claimed it was they're transporting drugs and blah blah blah. No, it's actually an oil processing. It was more about oil, as it always is, um, rather than drugs, because it's always been about oil. Um, and we know now that the only tanker that they've seized, they've managed to offload the oil, and I think sell it or something. Venezuelan oil has a certain character to it, whatever thickness or whatever grade, and it's necessary to sort of mess with it in order to transfer it and transport it. So there's that. I mean, they couldn't get it up the Galveston Canal for some reason. I mean, it's a really big tanker, the one that they grabbed. Now, the other one that they grabbed but had to let go was because all their paperwork was in order, and there's really no reason to seize it unless you were going to do straight up piracy. So there was that. And then the Bella one, um, which was an empty oil tanker, uh, and it has some relation to Iran under a different name and blah blah blah. Well, as I said last week, they decided that they weren't going to stop, and so there was some suggestion that they were going to head off to Greenland. I have no idea why they would do that, but they decided they wouldn't stop for U.S. Coast Guard or whatever. And so, it's not like you can pull them over. You flash a little light and they pull over. That's not going to happen. You got this huge tanker, moseying along somewhere in the Caribbean, shutting off its transponder. Transponder tells you where and what it is, which is sort of the monkey business that's been going on with shadow oil fleets, is that uh, uh, they don't change the transponder so much as they turn it off. So there are a lot of oil tankers. There are 200 to 400 oil tankers running around at any one time, and some of them are kosher, others are not. Some have paperwork, some have fake paperwork, some claim different, nationalities. Apparently, the Bella one decided they would paint the Russian flag. This is a weird reporting, that they would paint the Russian flag on the side so they wouldn't get pulled over. So this is nothing has happened yet. It's obviously not going to sink it. They want to stop it, but for some reason they just sort of, you know, they're not going to assault it, which is what they did with the first tanker. Um, anyway, so it's one tanker with about 1 million gallons or 2 million gallons of oil. So we've stolen or seized 1 million gallons of Venezuelan crude. So that's the booty that has been so far grabbed. It looks pretty obvious that not only is the Coast Guard sort of reluctant to pull over people for no reason, but also the Navy is a little squeamish. There's a report that the admiral the new admiral, because the first admiral resigned, because he was going to be asked to do potentially illegal things, and so I don't know I can't remember what the name of the new admiral is, but he even consulted his JAG officer during recently because of this bombing people for no reason or for spurious kind of reasons. So there's a lot of stupid stuff going on, and one really wants one's congressional representatives. One should write them and say, what is the real story here? Because money is being wasted, lives are being lost. Apparently, drug consumption is even down. So you could claim that this is a deterrent, but I don't think it's so much a deterrent as we're in a, it's winter. So, it's a seasonal drop too. So that's happening. Um, Stephen Miller is doing Stephen Miller things, and there's lots of dangerous cities in the United States, none of which are being occupied currently by troops because Trump is whining about that the Supreme Court actually held up that their that troops have to leave. He sent troops off to Chicago and L.A. and blah blah blah. They're all gone now. I mean, they have to go because they were ordered to go. They to withdraw. So all of this craziness, though, hasn't stopped. The Somali thing has been built up primarily because a blogger or vlogger, he's like, I don't know, 20 years old now. I think he started at 16. He's just a guy with a camera and very conservative, of course, and apparently raised Mormon. In fact, he's already done his missionary work. But anyway, he's been doing the James O'Keefe stuff where he's trying to do gotcha stuff in child care in Minneapolis. And so he goes in there and does, the James O'Keefe thing. You sort of bully people and frame it like, oh, there's nothing going on here, there's no people here, or blah blah blah.
Mm.
When in fact the other people are just afraid that people with masks and cameras are coming in and don't identify themselves. Well, gee, it's Minnesota is not a stand your ground state, but it
Personally, I would love to send my kids to a daycare that didn't lock their doors.
indeed.
Open community kind of situation.
That's really true. Although, you're going to lock your doors anyway. It's damn cold. It's almost as cold as where you are right now. um, but needless to say, CNN sort of seized on this one provocateur, this kid. I can't remember what his name is. Neil or Chris or whatever the hell his name is. Uh, Shiley, I think is his name, Nick Shiley, whatever. Because he was making an expose. Well, it really wasn't an expose. People were afraid of these people coming in, so they obviously locked their doors and told people to go, pound sand. Uh, so it's not gotcha journalism. It's not journalism at all. It's uh, it's assault, actually. But anyway, so that happened. And of course, it's about Somalis, which is very clear that for the last X number of years, there has been a series of fraud cases that have taken a lot of money for X number of reasons. Um, and because of various entities were getting Minnesota state money to support uh, social welfare organizations that included childcare. But the childcare thing has been pumped up a little because, oh, those poor kids, or there's no kids, or something. And it's all, weird counterclaims and claims. So everybody outside of Minnesota thinks, um, you know, Minnesota is somehow overrun with Somalis. And, there's all this stuff going on, very Trumpian stuff going on. And at the state level, yeah, it's embarrassing. The governor has, audit stuff. He's got people looking at stuff. I assume, he has he's got cops looking at this stuff. So it's serious stuff. Um,
And I don't want to sound presumptuous, but sounds like some racist shit if you ask me.
well, I wasn't even going to go there. Uh, there have been so many events this week where, well, you look like a Somali, so therefore I'm going to screw with you. As it's just all this stuff going on. I
Oh,
mean,
I think I may have, well, I'm running out. I got 10% on my battery, and I think I may have too small of a bowl here. How are we doing? Oh boy.
looks good though. I'm hungry.
There we go.
So we're afraid, needless to say. It doesn't mean that the feds aren't, harassing people in Memphis, which is what they are. Um, but of course, all of these things are to distract from this Epstein stuff that's not fully completed. Clearly not fulfilled. And, we haven't reached the point yet where people are going to go to jail or be fined. And, I think they should start threatening to do that, considering that they're just being sandbagged. Of course, this is while Congress is not in session. So there isn't quite the uproar. Gee, that looks tasty. Looks
Mm.
tasty.
Smoky, salty. Oh, I
Yum.
forgot. Ooh. Oh, damn.
Currently, there is a negotiation going on between the U.S. and Russia, and relative to Ukraine, and it's not a clear negotiation. In fact, nobody's met anybody, uh, and apparently, it seems like all the people who are at the meeting are kind of, you know, Trumpian stooges in that sense. Kushner, Witkoff, Lutnick, all of the people are real estate guys. It's all real estate guys. If your foreign policy is being done by real estate guys, I mean, just think about it.
X.
This is not how foreign policy is supposed to operate. And of course, Marco Rubio, little Marco, his own deal here is to sort of shut up and go along. And his real deal is to try and destabilize Venezuela, because ultimately he wants to destabilize Cuba, which is his, sort of, you know, um, his whole raison d'etre for living is to somehow bring Batista back or something, because his parents fled sort of from Cuba. Although that's not that story is kind of interesting to see that in the press, because it's not really quite clear how his parents got to the U.S. But anyway, or when they came to the U.S. in terms of, did they come after the revolution or before the revolution? So that's another story that's there. Um, where are we now in terms of time? Um, darn it. Oh, we're getting close to schedule
Yeah.
time. Yes, in fact. Um, okay. Well, anyway, I've talked about pretty much all the stuff. It's terrible stuff. Pam Bondi is still a criminal, as far as I can tell, in terms of violating the law. Um, Trump has done more crazy stuff, including trying to seize control of the 3 public golf courses in D.C., because obviously what he's going to do is seize them and then, quote unquote, develop them, right? So he's going to probably privatize the public golf courses in D.C., partially because they're an easy target. And it's so typically Trumpian, and he's just taking advantage of the fact that he's sort of in charge of the District of Columbia. So there's that is happening. Um, oh yeah, and waving sabers relative to Iran, because there are demonstrations going on in Iran. They appear to be countrywide, but they're no more serious than the last bunch of demonstrations that sort of threaten the life of the regime. It don't really threaten the life of the regime. They're just people who are protesting, and they do protest in a rigorous and interesting way. And often the people in charge in Iran kill people, and it hasn't quite gotten there yet. Well, I think maybe a couple of people have finally,
Mm.
or whatever, have gotten killed. And speaking of people who've gotten killed, there was this massive fire in a nightclub in, what's it, Switzerland or Eastern France? But most of the people who died are Italian, I think. It's just a it's very much like the one that was in Rhode Island, where the something catches fire, people stampede in a crowded nightclub or whatever bar, and 40 people are dead so far. I think that's the current reporting on it. 100 people injured. There's a lot of people, and it's pretty ugly in that particular sense. And they blame it on, of course, pyrotechnics. That is, sparklers set off something something, and apparently the interior of this bar had flammable stuff sitting around, and there it went up. So there's that story. Uh, it's
A
been a busy week.
disco with flammable material?
That
They're flammable from head to toe.
it's people, polymer or what. Oh man. So there's all that. There's more stuff, but it's pretty busy. They topped 100 people killed from the drug strikes. Our tax dollars at work, doing something out there. Last week it was the Trumpian battleships and other ways to screw with the military-industrial complex. This week it's a whole bunch of things, and terrible stuff, that are global, but also regional, that are the usual Trumpian, oppression, racism, repression, um, police action, misuse of the law. Uh, you know, uh, Immigration lawyers are getting a lot of work, but when you have an administration that fires immigration judges, which they have done, to the tune of I think 1,000 now, whatever. There's a lot of they crippled it in both directions. So on the one hand, if you want to deport people, you need to have actually a legal structure there, but they decided to cripple that in order to make it more whatever agitated, especially since they've only been able to get a very small fraction of people who are actually what Trump calls the worst of the worst, people actually committed crimes, other than the crime of being undocumented. And so there's that, which is all lies. And they've been claiming all kinds of numbers that are, once you start looking at the details, they're making up the numbers, or uh, they're playing fast and loose with the numbers. Let's put it that way. So anyway, I'll stop yakking about this. We're at schedule time. Schedule time.
Oh,
There's gonna be there's
I
movies this
know.
weekend. There's and Slightly over 30 minutes, there's going to be a night gallery, and I hope that John is here to talk about that. After John, night gallery and night gallery, there we're going to have the final thing of what, season 2 or 3 of Poker Face. So we're looking forward to that as well. So in terms of Friday, that's what's going on after we stop doing what we're doing here. And on Saturday is a film called The Big Clock, I think. And if Susanna's here, you can say a little bit about that, perhaps.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Ann. Yes, so at 7 p.m. Eastern, 1948, this is an acclaimed noir thriller, The Big Clock, starring Ray Milland and Charles Lawton. It is from an acclaimed 1946 novel. And the film itself is equally acclaimed. It's very unusual to have film goers go, well, it wasn't quite the novel, or the novel, it wasn't quite the film. They both stand alone and they are real classics. So I hope you can join me.
Looking forward to it. Um, can't remember if there's anything else on Saturday. I know, John, do you want to preview the Friday night gallery thing before we talk about Sunday?
Yes. I just wanted to say in defense of the president, those three those three public golf courses in Washington, D.C., threats to national security. So he had to do something.
Oh, well, they're called the National Trust for whatever. Yeah, there's no trust anymore. Whatever.
Um, Tonight on Night Gallery, we have an episode called Deliveries in the Rear.
Yeah.
Uh, insert joke here.
Hey, there's nothing funny about butt play.
No,
Be serious.
it's very serious. It is a star-studded cast, I must say. Quite a few character actors here. We have it stars Cornell Wilde and Rosemary Forsyth. And we also have Peter Whitney, Larry DeMann, D-Man, Walter Burke, Peter Bracco, Ian Wolfe, and a very young Gerald McRaney.
Wow.
There you go.
Probably just out of the
I
Marines.
believe that might have been Larry the Man.
Oh, and if for those who like slides, you're in luck because I
Oh
hit
God.
Oh Lordy.
I hit
How many?
triple digits.
Oh man.
Oh my
Right on.
God, John. How long's the episode?
Actually, it's one of the longer ones. It's
That's all right. That works
yeah,
out.
28 minutes.
Fine.
Oh bloody hell. All right.
Jesus.
Tell us about Star Trek Next Generation on Sunday, John.
Well, on Star Trek: The Next Generation, the episode is called Deja Q.
Oh
And
man.
Q is back.
Oh, not that miserable dude again.
Yes, he's one of your favorite characters.
Yeah,
And
he's awesome, doesn't he?
he is.
Big head.
So John Delancey guest stars as Q, and we also have Corbin Burnson making an appearance. Actually, Q's in a bit of trouble in this episode. He's been stripped of his powers, or at
Oh
least
God,
that's
this
what
one's
he
a good
claims.
episode. This is a good episode.
His godly powers?
His godly powers.
Yes, absolutely.
He's been a
It's
bad
actually quite
boy.
interesting. It's quite interesting. But it does give you this sense of what the Q continuum sort of is, and you know how they sort of managed to work humanoid-looking, godlike people sort of into the plot. So anyway,
This
Yes,
is
we learn
starting
a
to
bit
sound
more.
more like fantasy fiction than science fiction, to be honest. Where are we heading with this?
No, this is all been verified, Joe. It's
Oh, okay.
100% scientific.
Oh God. Okay,
I
so
believe that's Lane. Apologies
Lane,
for out of order scheduling again. I believe Lane had something to show on Sunday.
Yes.
Soul Social.
Well, it's not soul, but it's good for the soul. It's the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band featuring Vivian Stanshall. And it'll hopefully lead on to next week, the Ruddles, which were a mock Beatles group formed by Eric Idle and Neil Innes and others from...
the Ruddles.
Yes.
Anyway, yes.
Partly inspired by the lovely Steve from Canada.
All right. Looking forward to that. On that's Sunday is Star Trek is at 5, and after that will be Lane. And Monday.
Tomorrow, I forgot.
Carry on.
Tomorrow, I'll be doing my second plunge of the year. We're going to the beach in the morning. So if we got any night owls, you could join me for a lovely. I wouldn't say dawn because the sun doesn't come above the mountains ridges. So, but it will be lots of I'm not skinny dipping, but I'll be wearing woolen underwear, heading into the water, minus 12 degrees or some crazy business. Yes.
All right. Yow.
Oh, so the dish we
No.
made was the bastard stir-fried noodles. We've got these rice spaghetti. No harsh, these are not worms, although
Nah.
they can tend to resemble it. I think we just had whatever vegetables I had laying around. That was napa cabbage, Turkish green pepper, carrot, chili, and beloved shiitake mushrooms. Yum yum. So
Yum.
stir fried. Oh, and peanuts for a little bit of protein.
Yum. All good. Yum, yum, yum. On Monday, we've been looking at Palo Alto et al., continuing, Nate's continuing to read from this text that really gives an interesting history of California. Uh, sort of warts and all. And I think that that's an interesting thing. So there's that on Monday. I don't know if Nate's here to yak a little bit about it. I don't think he is. But oh, Nate is here. Nate, do you want to talk about this? I guess not. I don't know if we're back. I know Bruce is here, but I don't know if we're back on to Red Hour on Tuesday.
Yes, we are. So Tuesday is a short story by Elizabeth Nesbit. Kind of a soft horror, almost a night gallery-ish story about a spooky room. And she was married to, well, she has a long history of her relationships, which I may do a slideshow on, but the Fabian Society pops up again, so we may talk about that also.
All right, socialists. So there's that on Tuesday. On Wednesday is I do a little office hour thing, and we're going to talk about techno-fascism and techno-feudalism. So there's that. That's at 6 o'clock. And those who join us, you can find the readings on Discord, the links there. Let's see. We'll try and do better next week.
See y'all.
Good